And you can understand that the love that you feel and the love that you have for others and what others have for you, it never ends. And especially the love that God, or whatever you want to call God, the love that that higher power has for you never ends, and that it is a gentle, forgiving love. It's not a punitive love. And so I think that's so important, and it frees you up when you can say, I am comfortable with my life and I'm comfortable with the death of this body, but my soul and my spirit lives on. There's a song that they used to sing in church. It says, there's a leak in this old building and my soul has got to move. So that's just telling us that this body will pass away, but our soul is eternal. And so when you look at it that way, it really frees you up from that fear of death. And I think that's the ultimate fear. And in order to be in love, you have to not have fear. So I know it's time for our break, but this is just so important to me. And I would encourage you. And the last verse, I think it got cut off. It says, now these three, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And so just keep that in mind. So let's go for a break, Rebel.
We are going to a quick break, so stay with us as we explore the Ageless Blueprint right here on W4HC Radio and Talk4 TV. An ancient secret with a modern twist for better health and vitality. Dr. Taylor will be right back. Taking care of your health shouldn't mean taking a handful of pills every day. At Taylor MD Formulations, they create doctor-developed supplements that combine the best natural ingredients so you get the results you need with fewer pills. Taylor MD Formulations is backed by science, designed for real life with real results. Less pills, better health, doctor approved. Shop now at TaylorMDFormulations.com and discover smarter supplements for smarter health. That's TaylorMDFormulations.com. We are back for more of Ageless Blueprint. Once again, let's join Dr. Taylor for more insights and research on the ancient secret to better health and a better life in modern times. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
Okay, all right, we're back. So I'm going to move on from 1 Corinthians, but I'll tell you, if you listen to that every morning, it'll reshape your life. It'll reshape how you look at everything. All right, so the next thing you need is clarity. And I went through this program called Reality Creator. It's by Quasi. You have it down here, this guy Quasi. And he's a young 26-year-old guy. But he was talking about identity shifting, is how do you release your old identity if you want to become something else. So, I had this identity, I'm a son of a Baptist minister. I went to medical school. I went to college, went to medical school. I became an OBGYN. Then my identity changed to be a holistic functional medicine doc. And then I became a author. We wrote 2 books, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick and The Stress Connection. Then I became a speaker. I went around the country and speaking to lay people and speaking to doctors. And so that was my identity. Then that burned me out. And then I decided I'm just going to do this holistic medicine. And then 64 hit and patients started asking me if I was going to retire. And I said, that doesn't sound right to me. So I had to become clear on what I wanted to do. And so through this course, I changed my identity. I said, I'm going to tell people how to live and be ageless. I'm going to do it in the new way, because I used to do it by getting on the plane and going to a conference and speaking. And this is the new way of connecting with people. I had patients that say, you got to get on Instagram if you really want to spread this message. So I had to take their advice. So I had to become very clear. I had to become clear about what the Ageless Blueprint was going to be. I had to be very clear about the podcast and how I'm going to work. So you have to have clarity. And so the only way you can do that is you have to get rid of the mental clutter. You have somewhere between 40 and 70,000 thoughts a day. And you have to decide which one of those thoughts are you going to focus on. And whatever you focus on will eventually materialize. If you focus on what, and now here's the weird thing. If you focus on what you don't want, the universe doesn't understand don't. If you say, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get sick before I go on my vacation. I hope I don't get sick. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get sick. I guarantee you're probably going to get sick either right before that vacation or right afterwards, because you are focusing on not being sick, but your thoughts, your body really doesn't hear the not. It just hears sick. So what you have to say is, I'm going to be healthy this whole trip. When we went to Egypt, we were going there for 3 weeks. We had all kinds of energy. We didn't get sick, nothing. And we went through Christmas time. It was cold. And because we had a purpose there, we were going on a spiritual journey there. Me and my wife, we wanted to understand the science, because the Egyptians saw spirituality as a science. And me and my wife and I, we're both scientists. So that's why we went there. And that's what we focused on. So now, how do you get rid of mental clutter? Is you have to quiet your mind. And you do that through meditation. And before 6 months ago, I never meditated. I didn't really understand the value of it. Now I don't go a day without meditating. I meditate every morning, this morning included. And I did a podcast on that where I use this Muse headband. Is right here. I have it, right, very accessible to me, because that's the only way I can get in touch with my intuition. I won't say it's the only way. It was the best way. And when you quiet your mind and then you set an intention and a focus, that's how you bring things into this material world. Okay. So you have to get rid of that mental clutter, and you have to let go of any fixed identity. And then that opens up neuroplasticity and mental flexibility. So neuroplasticity means you can make new connections in your brain. We used to think, when I was in medical school, we used to think that you didn't grow new nerve cells, that, when you had a stroke, that was it. You lost function on the left side, and that's it. You're never going to regain that. Well, we found that not to be true. People overcome strokes and all kinds of things. So, but what you have to do is you have to unwire your brain, okay, in order to think a different way. My whole identity has changed. If you talk to my wife, she'll say that I'm a different person. And when I was at Joe Dispenza, and he's trying to help people rewire their brain in order to go from a person who's addicted to stress to a person who can let their parasympathetic nervous system or their rest and digest system allow them to repair any physical or mental disruption that they have. I won't even call it an illness. Is that you can rewire your brain to think healthy, to think wealthy, to think worthiness. And when you think lack, unworthiness, or you think that you're a victim of your genes, or you're a victim of your ancestors who had certain conditions, well, she had diabetes or she had cancer, so I'm just doomed, I'm a victim. When you have that type of thought, you are probably going to be that victim that you are fearing that you don't want to be. So that's why you have to make sure that whatever you desire, you actually have to become that person before it ever happens. Okay? I had to think like a public speaker before I ever got on a stage. I have to think that I am a good podcaster, whether you think it or not. I have to think it. Okay? Before I press this button and come on the air, I have to think that I'm going to deliver something that's going to help somebody. it may not help this person, but somebody will be helped by what I'm going to say. I have to think like that. I started to think like a better husband. And you know what? I became a better husband. I had to think like I'm going to be a better loving father. I'm going to endure all things. I'm going to believe all things. And I had to embody that before it ever happened. And I've been married 39 years, and my wife will tell you that the last year since I made this identity shift, it's the happiest we've ever been. It's the closest we've ever been. And so by me changing, everybody around me has changed in response to me. So only thing I can do is to change myself. I can't change my wife. I can't change my children. I can't change my patients. I can't change the people who watch this or listen to this podcast, but I can change myself. And then the next thing, you have to have a clear direction. I had to have a clear direction of where I wanted to go. I wanted to be on social media. If that's what I have to do in order to fulfill my purpose, well, that's my aim. That's my target. And this GPS system in our brain, if I set a target, the GPS will guide me toward that. And that's what's happened. I've had, this podcast. How did that happen? It's because 3 years ago, I was on another podcast. And then they said, you should have your own. And that GPS system is taking me where I want to go. But you have to be clear about where you want to go. You can't be double-minded. In the Bible, a double-minded man is unstable in all its ways. So you have to be clear where you want to go. All right. Then you got to have physical vitality. And my big number one thing is that you got to have your hormones in balance. Now, you can think your hormones back in balance. You can do that. All right. And you can meditate, you can do it. But the other way you can do it is to test for it and then use bioidentical hormones. So any way you want to do it, that's fine. But you got to be able, because hormones control your emotions. And your emotions really control your destiny. Okay? How you feel about something, if you feel that money is the root of all evil, you will not attract any money because you feel like that. Okay? It's not about what you think, it's about what you feel. And because hormones are so associated with your feelings, you have to kind of get those balanced so that your true emotions or your true feelings can express how you think. Okay? Because, I know this, again, I was OBGYN. Women who their hormones were out of balance, when they come into the office, you could see that they were frazzled, they were out of balance, and they weren't really themselves. And they would come back after their hormones got balanced, and they would say, that sometimes they would apologize, like, I'm sorry, my hormones are out of whack, I feel so much better now. So